The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session, and we would like to now hand over to the co-prosecutor to put questions to the witness. You may proceed. Co-prosecutor, good afternoon again, Mr. President and Your Honors, and good afternoon, everyone. I have a few more questions for Mr. Leng Cheung. Mr. Leng Cheung, I have a few more questions, please, before I hand over to my colleague to continue putting questions. You said before we left off that you attended political study sessions during the Khmer Rouge period. What kind of topics or subjects of the discussion in the study session you obtained, please? Response. The education sessions were not significant. They were more or less the session convened to disseminate some information among our groups. Question. Thank you. Were you also instructed on any other matters other than this? Response. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. Question. During the Khmer Rouge regime, you may have heard the expressions the Khmer Rouge may have used. For example, the feudalist, the capitalist, or the imperialists, or the intellectuals, etc. Did you ever hear these words being said or used during the period? Response. I believe I have heard such terms used. Question. Can you tell the chamber the meanings of these terms used by the Khmer Rouge to the people during that specific period of time? Response. I don't remember what would be the meanings of such words being used. Question. I have some questions regarding the event after 1976. Indeed, by the time, for the time you approached Phnom Penh and worked at K-12, when did you start working at K-12? Response. I started working at K-12 in 1976, but I don't remember the exact month. Question. Thank you. What did you do at K-12? Response. I was young and I was tasked with cleaning the houses and the vicinity. Question. Can you tell the chamber the purpose of K-12? According to your observation, what was K-12 meant to be, or what actually was the objective of having K-12? Response. I don't know, but I noted that the adults would be tasked with driving the vehicles, and I was young, so I would be asked only to clean the houses. Question. Regarding the young people and the adults, mainly what did they do? Response. Regarding the adults, they drove cars for others. Question. Thank you. Are you aware of the organizational structure of K-12, or are you able to tell the chamber if you know whether such structure exists? Response. I don't know. I was too young to know who would be the president of the office and who would be the subordinates. Because as a young boy, I would only care for the work I was assigned to do. Question. Do you know Tamil, and who is he? Response. Yes, I do. I know him, and he was the head of the office. Question. Was he the head of K-12 office or other offices? Response. Tamil was the head of K-12 office. Question. Who was his deputy? Or did K-12 have a lot of deputy chiefs? Response. I don't know whether K-12 had any deputy chief or chiefs. Question. Do you know Sarun and Young, who were the cadres at that time? Response. No, I don't know these people. Question. Thank you. Can you recollect what happened to Tamil? Response. I'm afraid I don't know. First, I was too young at that time. Secondly, I just know nothing about this. Question. If you recollect the event that happened in 1978, can you please tell the chamber who disappeared among the cadres you worked close and in particular in 1978? Response. I don't know anyone who disappeared. Question. Mr. Chung, and with Mr. President Liu, I would like to read this statement to you, and I am referring to your document, the same document as already referred to by counsel for the accused. The President, can you indicate the ERN numbers to the parties to the proceedings? And it would be also helpful for the record if you can read them out. Co-prosecutor, Mr. President, thank you. This document is E3/385 in French 00702543 and in English 00360127 and in Khmer 00357210. In that document, you said that you were sent to K-12 office where you were tasked with cleaning the place, and you said you knew it was K-12 because other people who were who told you about the existence of the place, and that Tamil was the head of the office who was removed or taken away for execution in 1978, and you said you remained at K-12 and that you also had to drive the vehicle. Is that correct? Response. This is the statement I made. However, Tamil was arrested after I had already taken the driving task for Mr. Kyusampon. That happened at a later stage. I mean, when Tamil was executed. Question. Regarding Mr. Sarun, can you recall whether you know or still remember what happened to him? Response. I don't remember this person's name. Question. Do you know Don? Response. I don't know. I don't remember. Question. Thank you. What about another person by the name of Pierre at K-12 as well? Response. I don't remember this person. Question. Do you know Sot? Response. Yes, I do. Sot was the one who instructed me and led me in cleaning the place, and after that he went somewhere that I never know where he had gone to. Question. Was Mr. Sot a driver like you were? Response. Yes, he was the driver, but at that time he also instructed me to clean the vicinity, and later on he taught me how to drive the car, so I later on became the driver. So I was asked some question, and I perhaps did not give my clear answer regarding the sequence of the event. Question. Did Mr. Sot continue to be the driver? Response. Sot continued to be driver. Question. Who did he drive for? Response. I think he drove the car for Mr. Nuon Chia. Question. As the driver, were you offered other tasks as a bodyguard for the person you had driven the car for? Or in other words, did you hold these two functions at the same time, a driver and a bodyguard for the same person? Response. To respond to your question, I may put it simply like this. A driver is a driver, a bodyguard is a bodyguard. These two people would never be the same persons. Question. Thank you. I would like to move to the event of April 1978. I would like to know about your staying at the K office and your work driving the vehicle for Mr. Kilsampon. You already stated that you drove for him, but my question to you is, did you continue to be his driver all the time consecutively, or did you at any point in time stop being the driver and resumed other tasks? Response. I continued being the driver for Mr. Kilsampon all the way to 1979. Question. Thank you. During the course of your work as the driver for Mr. Kilsampon, did you engage in any conversation with him? And if so, what did he say to you, and what you remember about this? Response. We did not engage in any serious conversation, but he did only ask me, for example, he would tell me where he would be going and where he would want me to bring him back. That's all. Question. Thank you. During the course of your trip driving Mr. Kilsampon to different places, did you also see him meeting Nuon Chea or other Khmer Rouge leaders? If so, did you remember what they could have said to one another? Response. As the driver, I do not know where he met, or rather whom he met, but it is possible that at times when, for example, after he met with some people, I would see the drivers of those people, so I could identify who he met by way of knowing who the drivers were driven for. Question. Thank you. When did you return to K-12 office? And why did you come back? Response. I'm afraid I don't understand your question. Why you ask me that I returned to K-12? Question. Thank you for asking for clarification. Now, my question is, after 1978 or April 1978, did you remain in K-12 or did you work elsewhere? Response. I think perhaps I need to go back a little bit. By 1976, I moved to the technical school, the Khmer Soviet technical school. After that, I went to K-12 office, the child mobile or child unit. And after I could drive the car, then I was asked to go to K-3. So these events happened separately. So after about April 1978 or something, if I remember correctly, I left K-12 and then I still continue driving for Mr. Kilsompon until the date when we climbed the mountain on the run, and then we parted our ways in 1979. Question. Thank you. At K-12, after Tamil was removed, what was your observation regarding the situation at K-12 office at that time? Response. I did not know Tamil was arrested because I already left for K3 where I stayed with Mr. Kilsompon and I worked for him. I only heard about this event at a later date and I heard from other people. Question. Thank you. When Mr. Kilsompon was absent, in other words, when he was not in the country, what did you do? And with whom did you work? I am saying about Mr. Kilsompon being away from Cambodia. Indeed, it is practically that you would not be able to drive for him because he was not there. So during this time when he was not inside the country, where did you work and what did you do? Response. From the time I stayed with him, I don't remember having seen him going somewhere outside of the country until 1979. But perhaps this may be wrong, or rather the situation may change after 1979. Before that, he never left the country. And I would be there, if I did not drive, I would be asked to plan some morning glory. Question. When international delegations visiting the Democratic Cambodia regime, did you often take him to receive these delegations or not? Or if you did not drive him to receive them, did other people drive him there? The President, witness, please hold on. Counsel for Mr. Kilsompon, you may proceed. Counsel Kung Som-on. Thank you, Mr. President. I believe that the question lastly put by the co-prosecutor is rather repetitive because the witness said already that he was the only driver for Mr. Kilsompon. No other drivers would drive for him. Co-prosecutor, Mr. President, I was asking this question because during the Democratic Cambodia regime, other delegations would be coming to visit the country, and that Mr. Kilsompon could have met these people. So it may be possible that at times his driver would be absent or would not be able to drive him, and that other drivers would be asked to drive him. The President, the objection is not sustained. Witness is now directed to respond. Response. After working at, after I moved to K3, I do not know whether other people would be his drivers. That's not to my knowledge. So from April 1978 onward, he did not receive any foreign visitors. And before that, he could have received some senior delegation, because I heard this information broadcast on radios, but during my time working as his driver, I never remember seeing him receive any other senior visiting guests. Question. Thank you. I move to the next question. Do you know Won Wait? Response. Yes, I do. I saw him. Won Wait is Won Wait. Indeed, that's the same person I believe I know. Question. What did he do? Or can you remember what his functions were and where did he live? Response. I don't know where he lived, but Won Wait was a popular name. He was the Deputy Prime Minister in charge of commerce. And we heard this on radio broadcasts. Question. What happened to Won Wait? Or in other words, can you tell the chamber what happened to Won Wait? And what did other cadres do to him to make him end up like that? Response. I don't know anything about the work of the cadres at that time. I was a very young boy. I think I would remember this in detail if I were older than I was at that time. Question. Thank you. Did you ever meet with Pol Pot, Thamok, or Son Sen? If so, did these three people ever come to K13? Co-prosecutor, I may wish to correct this. It's K3, not K13. Did they ever come to K3? If so, did they come to this office more often? Response. I think I rarely see them, or I rarely saw them, and I never saw Son Sen's or vehicle, but Won Wait would come to the office once in a while.
How about Pol Pot? Did Pol Pot ever visit the place? Response. No, I never saw him, but I saw his car over there. Thank you. Question. Since I do not have more time to put you more question on this issue, I would like to, now put only 3 more questions for you. When you were living in the Democratic Cambodia period, do you recall any words of the Khmer Rouge, whether when you were driving the car or you were living somewhere, did you recall what the Khmer Rouge leader tell the people in general? In other words, do you recall the Khmer Rouge leader talk anything about, for example, the policy of the Khmer Rouge in general? Response. I am afraid I do not recall anything specific. At that time, I was very young. Thank you. Question. Can you enlighten the court further? This morning, you told the court that Mr. Khieu Samphan is a respectable person. He was a gentle, honest, and kind-hearted person. What are the basis for your judgment that Mr. Khieu Samphan was of the character you described this morning? Response. As I said, I find him respectable for myself as far as I am concerned, and based on my experience working with him, he was a gentle and kind-hearted person. So I respect him, and I can only speak for myself that I respected him. Question. When you were in the Democratic Cambodia period, you stayed with him, and you also came across this regime the entire period of the Democratic Cambodia by yourself. So according to your personal experience, what was the hardship that you witnessed and the Cambodian people had to endure at that time? Can you please enlighten the court what you heard, what you witnessed of the hardship that people had to go through? Please tell the court what you witnessed by yourself during that period. The President. Witness, please hold on. National Counsel for Mr. Khieu Samphan is on his feet. You may proceed, Counsel. Counsel Kung Samon. Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to object to this question because this question invites the witness to summarize his statement. And the prosecutor even made mention that this particular witness was a main actor, a person who witnessed firsthand the account or the event during the Democratic Cambodia. This suggests the assumption on the part of the prosecutor that this witness understood everything, every event of the regime. So I would like, Mr. President, to direct the prosecutor to put a more precise question if this witness is to answer any question of this nature. Mr. Prosecutor. Mr. President, may I try to clarify this? I say that this particular witness is a main actor simply because he was the one who stayed with Mr. Khieu Samphan, and he is now being the witness of the chamber who is testifying before the court. If he is not an important witness, he must not have been summoned to this court. So once again, when I say he is an important person to testify here, I am not saying that he is an important person who played an important role during the Democratic Cambodia period. He is important in our context now because he was the one who witnessed the activity, the situation that happened around where he worked. So he can enlighten the court to the extent that he knew and what he witnessed. Particularly, he was a driver for Mr. Khieu Samphan. So he is in a better position than anybody else to tell the character of Mr. Khieu Samphan and other leaders whom he came to know. And when I say that he knew the event during the Democratic Cambodia, I am not making an assumption that he knew everything from the regime. I know that there is a limitation to someone's knowledge of an event, and this person only knew what happened at the place where he worked, where he lived, and the context where he was operating at the time. So he only knew what he had experienced, what he came across in life. So he can enlighten the court to this effect in order to assist the court in ascertaining the truth. And for this reason, I would like to ask Mr. President to allow this witness to respond to my question. The President. Witness, you may respond to the question, but you may respond to only the first half of the question. As for the second half of the question, this elicits the assumption on the part of the witness because he would not be able to enlighten on the court as to how the Cambodian people in general perceive the situation. He is not here as an expert, so he may not be able to opine on this issue. The President, Mr. Prosecutor, you should need to put the last question to the witness, and you should refrain from using main actor or principal actor. You can only refer to this witness as witness, and make sure that the question should not elicit the assumption on the part of the witness, because even if you ask the witness to observe something or express his observation on something, this is actually an elicitation of the witness opinion, and you are asking this witness to opines on the view of Cambodian people during the Democratic Cambodia period. Prosecutor, Mr. Witness, can you please enlighten the court on your general observation of what you witnessed, what you heard, the event that you came to know? Did you witness the difficulty, the hardship for yourself as well as the people around your area during the Democratic Cambodia period? Response. Well, I think I can answer to this question, but if you ask me, and as you suggested in your last question to me, I could not elaborate because I was very young at that time. But as for me, my observation at that time, I was very young. There was no oppression, there was no force. Nobody forced me to work. I live ordinary life at that time. There was nothing difficult. Prosecutor, I have no further question, Mr. Witness, and I thank you very much for answering my question. I am sure that your testimony will contribute to ascertaining the truth. And with your leave, Mr. President, I would like to cede the floor to my international colleague.
Merci, bon après. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. Your Honours, good afternoon to the parties and to the witness. I will be asking you questions until this afternoon's break, and obviously the time this takes will depend on how concise your answers are. My name is Vincent Wild, and I represent the prosecutor's office as well. My first question is, have you already seen Khieu Samphan before the time when you went to K3? For example, did you see Khieu Samphan in K12?
No, I never saw him before that.
Très bien, je vais revenir. Thank you. I'll come back quickly to K12. You talked about Tamil a moment ago. I want to submit document E3858, please, which is also IS 18.56. This document has a list of the personnel of K12 that I would like the witness to look at to see if he can identify certain individuals with your assistance. Mr. President, I would also like to put up on the screen page 6 in Khmer. IRN 00021158. In French, it's page 11 of the document. In 00643490, and in English, it's page 9 of the document. ERN 00391733.
The President, Mr. Prosecutor, please identify the document number again, because it did not come through the interpretation.
Oui, la code du
The document code is E3/858. E3/858. And the relevant pages are the 6th page of the document in Khmer 000211158, 11th page in French, and page 9 in English.
The President, you may proceed, and court officer is now instructed to obtain a hard copy document from the prosecutor and hand it over to the witness.
Voilà, alors
Under the heading K12 Office, Vehicle Driving Service, there are a certain number of names, and the first in the list is Mil, and it said that he's in charge of the K12 office. Is this the person that you pointed out just now?
Yes, at K12, I knew Tamil.
il y a également
There's a certain number of other names, 7, that we have already spoken about, but just to refresh your memory, there's Sarun, who's the assistant head of K12. There's Yong, number 3, who is in charge of vehicles in the guest service. There's Don, Thon, who is in charge of the car repair shop. There's Bia, who is chairman of the dynamo winding section. There's Riet, who is guest vehicle driver. And then Owen, who's a vehicle mechanic at K12. Did you know any one of those 7 people on the document?
I do not seem to know all of them because it has been many years. I cannot recall.
très bien. Je vais revenir sur
All right, I will come back to the document later for other sections concerning K1 and K3, but right now I'd like you to look at another document, which is E3/1953. It's a prisoner list interrogated in 1978 in May in S21, and there's a name on it that I want to show to you under the title of Minister S70. In Khmer it's page 1, Mr. President. ERN 000399117 00003 etc. In English it's page 002333843, and in French it's page 100874783. With your permission, Mr. President, I would also like to display this document on the screen and to give the witness a copy of it so that he can identify one person.
The President, you may proceed. Court officer, please obtain a hard copy document from the prosecutor and hand it over to the witness.
alors monsieur le témoin.
It's the name that is underlined in yellow on your document, Mr. Witness, on the first page. It says San Schön, alias Mil, head of the K12 driving office, and then later date of arrest 8th of May 1978. When you identified Mr. Mill on the other document just before. Are we talking about the same name, the man you recognize as being the head of K-12 for whom you worked?
I only knew Mill, and that Mill was the chairman of K-12. But if you refer to the months that Mill was arrested, it was a bit different because I had already left K-12 and he was arrested later on, so I did not know anything about the arrest.
Très bien.
Thank you. But there is one element I want to insist on here. On the two documents that I showed you, the name of Mill appears under the heading Ministry or Office S71. Have you heard of Office S71, or rather did you hear of it when you were in K-12 and subsequently in K-3?
I did not know about Office S21, but I knew that Mill was the chairman of K-12. I did not know whether or not he assumed any other position elsewhere.
Merci.
Thank you. I was talking about S71. In the translation I heard S21, but just reassure me that your answer did concern S71 and not S21, please, witness. Could you quickly repeat that?
I knew a man by the name of Mill. I knew that he was a chairman of K-12, and I did not know whether or not he assumed any position at S71.
Merci.
Thank you. Earlier, the Kyosampan defense quoted Mr. Tasut's interview record. That's E3/464. E3/464, and I would like briefly to quote an excerpt from that without necessarily having to show you the entire record. In English it's on page 5, in French it's page 5, and in Khmer it's also page 5 going on to page 6. This is a comment that Tasut is making about PAN and the K offices, and it says that PAN was responsible for all of the K offices, such as K1, K2, K3, K4, K7, and K12. And lower down, I quote, Pang received the orders from all of the senior generals such as Pol Pot, Ieng Sari, Kyosampan, and Nun Chair, depending on each one's specialities. And lower down, Pang would see Kyosampan in K3, and Kyosampan went to see Pang in K7. Witness, can you tell us if you ever took Kyosampan to K7 when you were working for him?
I think I never took him to that place, but I might have missed it out. I did not know about Pong, who was in the supervisory role of these offices. I did not know. It was only now that you mention it, I learned about it.
Est-ce que vous
Have you ever seen Bang coming to K3?
dans la mesure où
If you had information about that or if you saw his car.
No, I never saw him come to K3, or I might have forgotten, I cannot recall, but to my recollection, he never saw him at K3. And concerning the question asked me whether or not I saw Pang come to K3, I said I never saw him.
I'd now like to come back to your statement to the investigating judges in E3 385 on page 7 in each one of the three languages. Thank you. And I don't think that the witness has actually received a copy of the Khmer version of this, Mr. President, and didn't get it when he was being questioned by the defense. So perhaps, if you see no objection to this, it would be a good idea to give him a copy.
The President. The document is actually on his desk. Duty counsel, can you assist him then?
Très bien. Alors je vais
All right, let me simply quote on page 7, in the middle, in French. I was frightened after I heard about the disappearance of Ta Mil and Pang, and when I heard there were successive transfers and disappearances of people. Apart from Mil and Pang, what other transfers and disappearances are you talking about here? Had you been told that other cadres in the regime disappeared or were arrested while you were in K3?
After hearing that, I actually went to work with Mr. Kyew Sampon. I myself was rather afraid myself, but I was very young at that time. I did not know what to do after all. But as you read out in the statement concerning mistreatment against me, I never received any treatment, and I heard about arrest of these people and that people. I was rather scared for myself, but that I had nothing. I could do nothing about it because I was very young.
Merci. Je vais
Thank you. I'd like to ask you a few questions now about things that we have already brought up before this chamber with the wife of Mr. Kyew Sampon. Mr. Witness, could you tell us if in K3 you had enough to eat?
At K3, I was near the kitchen. I had enough to eat. We did not have plentiful food to eat, but just enough to eat every day.
Donc vous aviez assez.
So, for example, you did have enough rice?
Yes, I did. Enough, but I did not have different dishes. I had only one dish, one kind of food, I add it to my content anyway.
Et qu'en était-il du...
And what about the leaders? Did they receive the same kind of meals as yourself? Because, as you told us, the kitchens were separated.
Response: I never was near to that kitchen. I was far from it, and I don't know his affairs.
Très bien.
Just now, you said that on arriving in the centre, you saw the leaders who resided in different houses there, Nunchia, Kyosampan. Mrs. Sosuchit, who came here on the 12th of June, said at 9:33 and 18 seconds, and this is a question that was being put to her, said that did the senior leaders leave K3 in 1979 and leave you behind with your husband? And she said yes. And to summarize, Kyosampan's wife said that in 1976 she was there with Kyosampan, but there weren't other leaders in K3. And in your statement to the investigating judges, you said that when you came in 1978, Nunche and Yengsare still had houses in K3. So do you confirm having seen Nunche and Yengsare in that place, in their houses?
Response: they had different homes. I cannot fully confirm that they would only stay in one place for a long period of time, but they did have a house at K3. I just don't know whether they spent or they slept there every night.
Merci.
Thank you. A while ago, you stated that Sun, Kyosampan's bodyguard, and you were Kyosampan's driver, that the bodyguard accompanied Kyosampan everywhere. During the hearing of the 10th of June, in the draft transcript at 15:39, she stated, in answer to the question, when he left K3, was he accompanied by the bodyguard? The answer was no. I will now read out to you a passage from your record of interview, E3/8385, and it is on page 4. You state there was a second colonel who drove Kyosampan, and later on you said he drove Yengsari instead, and then you said, I know Tom, and he was Kyosampan's bodyguard. Later on they assigned Sun to replace Tom. So from April 1978, Kyosampan had me as his driver and Sun as his bodyguard. First of all, do you confirm that Sun accompanied Kyosampan everywhere, or before Sun became the bodyguard of Kyosampan, another bodyguard accompanied Kyosampan?
Response: there was only one person by the name of Sun who was his bodyguard. I think Ton rings the bell, because later on, different people would be placed to replace the other who left, and once in a while I would meet him. I think he disappeared, that's why his name did not ring the bell, but you already refreshed my memory and I now recollect this name.
Oui, je vais probablement vous rafraîchir.
Yes, I will probably have to refresh your memory, further witness, and I will again refer to the document that I gave you a while ago, and it is E3/858. It is a list of the staff members of the K office, and this list was drawn up at S21. 1978. I'll refer to the first page in Khmer, and it is the document before you, page 2 in French and page 2 in English. And the heading is K3 Office. It reads as follows, and it is at the end of the page as far as the French is concerned. First of all, Ton is Banham's bodyguard. He came from Pomtame, Chai Sen, in 103, region 103. Bun is Banham's bodyguard. He is from region 103. And thirdly, Sem is Banham's bodyguard. He came from the northeast zone. He was from the Chok ethnic minority group. End of quote. Are we talking of the same Sun and Ton? Perhaps you can now remember the person referred to as Earn, you referred to before the co-investigating judges. Are these the persons you referred to when you were interviewed by the investigators?
Response. Yes, I am referring to Ton, although I did not work at that place when Ton was there. But I just learned that Ton was working at that place. And also there was another person, Hun, who was a driver.
Est-ce que le Sun...
And the person called Sun, and his third in the excerpt I read out to you, is that indeed the bodyguard who worked for Kyo Sampan at the time when you were Kyo Sampan's driver?
Response. Yes, it is correct.
Alors avant peut-être
Now, before the interruption, Mr. President, above the same document, under the title Office K3, we have 4 names. We have the name Tun, and it is said that he was a bodyguard of number 2. I'll skip the details, and then we have Sot, bodyguard of number 2. And Ron, bodyguard of brother number 2. What can you say about these persons? You've already talked about Sot. Did you meet Don, Dan, and Van during the period when you worked for Kyo Sampan? Since he was also bodyguard of brother number 2.
Response. I don't remember them all, although some of the names may be familiar, but I can say that I can't remember the clear picture of this. Indeed, you try to refresh my memory and it helps, but I don't think I remember them all.
Peut-être une toute dernière question.
Perhaps the very last question regarding K1. May I request you to look at what is written under the Office K on the same page. We have two names. We have Bang Lin, was the person in charge of K1 and K4 offices, and it is said that his wife Sam was from a sector of the North Zone. Secondly, Ban Tan, it is said that he was head of the K1 office and he came from the Northeast Zone. Did you hear those names when you were working for Kyo Sampan at K3? So these are two persons who worked at the K1 office.
Response. Yes, I am familiar with these two people. The President, thank you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor, and thank you, Mr. Witness. It is now appropriate time already for adjournment. The Chamber will adjourn for 20 minutes. The next session will be resumed by 3 o'clock. Court officer is now directed to assist the witness and his jury counsel during the adjournment and have them return to the courtroom by their time.
សូមក្រោកឈរ